Who to captain, Haaland or an Arsenal attacker, and what moves I want to make this week? Welcome to the Gianni YouTube show. Hope you guys are well and you're looking forward to game week 7. I certainly am and could do with a green arrow. But look, we've got money in the bank, we've got free transfers. Let's still always look forward, shall we? But look, before we start, let's have a quick look at the midweek roundup. Yes, something a little bit different. We're going to start with the Champions League FPL related notes. If you're enjoying the show, do hit that like and subscribe button. But look, we saw 4 English teams in the Champions League, and with that, there's always a little bit more information which helps us with our FPL decisions. So, Bratislava 0, Man City 4, saw Rico Lewis playing as an inverted right back, but we loved his average position. I'll show you that later. He grabbed an assist. Haaland got 60 minutes and a goal. Gundogan played as the deep line midfielder, the Rodri role, and it kind of worked. Doku and Savio both started out wide, and boy, were they direct, leading to chances. That was good for Haaland. Grealish and Bernardo on the wings against Newcastle perhaps wasn't great for Haaland. We saw Foden number 10 as well. And then we saw the Arsenal game, both Havertz and Saka with goals. We saw Calafiori and Timber both start. Timber went off at half-time. Potential knock there. Liverpool won as well. All the English teams got clean sheets. Jota played 30, sharing minutes with Darwin, and Diaz still shares minutes with Gakpo, but got 72. I still expect Diaz to start this week, but let's see. Liverpool are the early kickoff and will get team leaks, I expect. Trent got a clean sheet, of course he did, and Salah, of course, got the goals. And then Villa, John Duran doing what John Duran does, coming off the bench and scoring. Watkins at 72 minutes. We saw Rodgers get 90. Forget about his injury problems, he's fine, and Ramsey did go off injured. So, that was the roundup from midweek. This is a video about my team though and my captaincy decisions, so stay tuned for that. Before we get to my team though, shout out to OneFootball. Many of you have got the OneFootball app. If you like club football or international football, you're going to love OneFootball because it really brings you up to date with all the football news. I check it daily, not just for football news and for fixtures and data and stuff like that, but the video clips are awesome. If you want to see the goals of last night's games, you can guarantee you go onto the OneFootball app and you'll get like the perfect little 60-second clips. So download it. There's a link in the description. So, moving on. My team. I mentioned I got money in the bank. I mentioned I got 2 frees. Before we see my 15, which is from my wildcard team, there's one player in particular I really want to get to. And I don't know if it will be this week or not, but Phil Foden is definitely worth a scouting report. So here is the average position against Bratislava in the week for Man City. They were so high up the pitch. They absolutely dominated the ball. It was a 4-0 win. It could have been a 10-0 win. But we saw Foden playing number 10. In that little quadrant, that little diamond in midfield, it's Gundogan deep. It's Mateus Nunes one side, Rico Lewis the other, because it's a back 3 in possession, and Rico Lewis inverts to a number 8 in midfield. We like that. And then Foden top of that diamond, behind Haaland and then your 2 wide men. So look, there's a lot to like about Phil Foden. His minutes are improving. He should be good for a start versus Fulham. De Bruyne might be out until after the international break. We're going to wait and see if Pep tells us more on that. But as things stand, I could move from Luis Diaz to Phil Foden. Will I pull that trigger? I'm not quite sure. There are some other players I like, and earlier in the week I mentioned 9 other players. Now, from this list, and Burmo is in my team, these are all under 30% owned. If you want to know more about these 9 players, check out my video from Monday. But look, there's some great players there, especially in attack, from Aston Villa, from Spurs, and from Chelsea. Now, when we look at those 3 teams, Chelsea, Spurs, Aston Villa, we see they all feature in the big chances table. They all feature in the goals table. Like, if we take game weeks 1 to 6, we see Chelsea have scored the most goals, then Man City, and then Arsenal, Villa, Liverpool, Spurs. But with regards to big chances, the reason I like Brennan Johnson and Dom Solanke, 26 big chances for Spurs, which is more than any other team in the league. Chelsea second on 24. So look, that's some attacking data. That's from the Scout members area. Go check that out. You've seen my video from earlier in the week. I've teased it enough. Hit that like and subscribe button and let's see my team. So I line up all right for game week 7. This was the point of a wild card, right? So this is my team. We can see all 15 of them on screen. In goal, for podcast listeners, we have Sells and Fabianski benched. My back 3, my starters, Trent, Gabriel and Lewis. At the moment, I've got Mikolenko and Greaves on the bench. That's sub 2 and 3. Got a bit of a benching headache though. Sacco and Burmo, Luis Diaz and Semenyo are in. And obviously Haaland, Havertz, and at the moment Calvert-Lewin are in. I've got Morgan Rogers as my first bench option. Now, let's discuss that. Do you bench Rogers or DCL? As things stand, I'm backing the forward. Now, look, Rodgers is playing as a second striker, and Aston Villa are fancied by the bookies to score more goals. In fact, if we bring up Rob T's projection odds, this is from the bookmakers, this is great. You can see the clean sheet odds and the goal odds for every fixture this weekend. Some of you might want to hit the pause button now and just absorb this data, but we're going to blitz through it just with regards to my benching issue. So, Everton, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they're expected to kind of draw or lose according to the odds. 1.38 goals. They expect Newcastle to score 1.75. Dominic Calvert-Lewin 1.38. Yeah, about 30%-ish likely to score, I expect. Aston Villa, however, against Man United, are expected to outscore Man United. They're expected 1.75 goals. So, in terms of goals in the game, you could argue I should be going with Morgan Rogers. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, for me, comes with the higher ceiling. I think he's got higher brace potential, and I still think he's got higher chance of scoring an individual goal, even if his team aren't going to do it. So I think I'm going to go Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, there is a world in which Rogers comes into my 11, because I have Diaz in my 11. Now, what we have seen from Luis Diaz is he starts every game in the Premier League and comes off at 60, 70 minutes. Will that theme continue this weekend? Well, we're not so sure. We only have one sample to go off. We now have two samples of where Liverpool have played Champions League and then they've played Premier League. Now, match day 1 in the Champions League, they went to Milan. Huge game. And Luis Diaz, for the first time in a big game this season, was on the bench. He played Gakpo on the left. Gakpo played really well. And then at the weekend in the Premier League, Luis Diaz was back in. However, this week in the Champions League, Luis Diaz started. Some of us were surprised by that. Jota was benched. So we know Jota's good for a start in game week 7, but is Luis Diaz? Now, Gakpo came on at 70, and maybe that theme continues in the Premier League, but this will be 3 starts in a week for Diaz, which of course he can do. Salah does it every week. Will Luis Diaz? I'm not so sure. I guess I'm 60, 70% likely he'll start. If he doesn't start, and we hear that, and I will be doing a deadline stream, keeping you up to date with that news on Saturday morning, so check that out, then I will bring Diaz out and I'll just start Morgan Rogers. That does mean there is no pressing transfer in this team. As much as I would love to go Phil Foden, I could go Phil Foden in, Diaz out, and I could go Dominic Calvert-Lewin down to an enabler. I don't think I will, though. I don't think I will. I think I'll just be happy. I'll play it patient. And then after the international break, I've got 3 transfers and I can really do bits with my teams. Now, remember, that's the time I'm probably going to be offloading some Arsenal assets, for example. I might even want to stack up on a couple of defences that have been really good. And if I bring on some defensive data on the screen, we can see this is from the Scout members area. I showed you the attack data earlier. Well, the defence data for Liverpool, in particular, 2 goals conceded, 4.52 XG. They're by far the best defence in the league. Do I want to consider a Robertson? Do I look at Man City and go, get Gvardiol in? Because, again, their defensive data looks great. Nottingham Forest, by the way, 3rd best defence in the league so far. That's why I went Sells over Flecken. So I've got decisions to make. I'm still not 100% sold if I make the move. But if I make a move, it'll be a midfield transfer. I like Brennan Johnson. I like Foden. I think I'm very likely to roll. The big decision for me this week, and it will be for many of you, is captaincy. I was surprised, right? I did this Twitter poll early in the game week. Game week 7 captaincy poll. 74% of you, we can see on screen, voted for Haaland. 14% Saka, 4% Havertz, and around 7% Mo Salah. You're all going to Haaland again, and I'm 50-50, guys, because yes, he plays Fulham, and that's a good fixture. When Haaland has a good fixture at home, middling or lower opposition, you're back in with the armband and he always delivers. But Fulham aren't bad. Southampton, who go to Arsenal, are bad. Arsenal have the best fixture, without a shadow of a doubt. Against Leicester in game week 6, Arsenal clocked an XG of 6, right? They smashed them. And I know it was late when they got the winner and they won 4-2 eventually. They're going to do the same to Southampton. Chance after chance after chance. And I don't want to look back at that game and say, I absolutely called it. This will all be Arsenal. Now, Havertz and Saka both scored in the week. Havertz has scored a goal every time he's played at the Emirates this season. 5 games at the Emirates. He scored in every single one of them, Kai Havertz. Saka's a legit option too. I actually fancy Havertz over Saka just because I think if you're asking me who gets most points, I'm completely level pegging. And if I'm level pegging, I'll probably go to the one that's lower owned. Havertz gives me the greater upside. So I like that shout very much. They both played in the Champions League on Tuesday, so the rest time for both Arsenal and City is the same. Although City were the away teams, they've got to travel back from Europe, and Arsenal played at home on Tuesday against PSG. So that plays part of my thinking. But then there's another graphic that I saw on the BBC website earlier this week, which was the expected goals in the Premier League per 90. And I see this and just go, Gianni, you're mad to consider someone else but Haaland. You're mad to go against him. His XG per 90 is 1.04. This is from Opta, right? Salah's the next best, 0.66. Cole Palmer, 6.5. Havertz, 6.0. They're the 4 best attackers in the league at the moment in terms of XG per 90, and I'd say they seem to stand out in terms of eye test. I'd have these top 4. But Havertz, Palmer, Salah, they're all very similar. They're all clocking very good numbers. But Erling Haaland's almost double their number. He's almost double as good. He's getting almost double as big chances, and we know he's just as good a finisher. Maybe I'm mad to look outside that fixture. It's going to be a late call if I captain Havertz or Haaland. I think I'm ruling out Saka, just because for what I said earlier. So guys, I will let you know on Saturday morning in my deadline stream where I go with the team. If you've enjoyed this video, on your way out, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.